This is the Gaming Buzz Podcast, where ranting about video games somehow equals content.
Hello and welcome to episode 33 of Gaming Buzz, and I am here with a special guest today, and it's not Jason, but he's here too. Hi, Jason.
Hello.
Christian's stepped out for the day. He's busy, and that's okay because we've got a pretty cool guest in town today. Over there, over to, I'm assuming my left, I don't know how you guys perceive that, is Gregg. Hello, Gregg.
Hey, well, thanks for having me on, you guys. Appreciate it.
Gregg, can you tell us why we have you on the show? What's the big factor in that?
Sure. Well, I own my own video game store in De Pere, Wisconsin, so just outside of Green Bay, obviously. Game Trade is the name, and yeah, we love retro stuff, and you guys do awesome podcasts, so I thought, hey, why not team up?
Your store is very nice. I've been there. Jason, you've been there?
More than once.
It's a very nice store. So there's the plug right there. If you guys are anywhere near Northeast Wisconsin, it's well worth the drive.
Thank you.
This is kind of interesting because we have the owner of a local game store, and also we have Jason, who works at one of our other local game stores.
Yep, Gregg owns Game Trade, and I manage GB Games here in Green Bay.
So you guys are competitors. Does that mean you're bitter rivals?
No, I don't think so. I mean, competition's good. It truly is, especially in this industry when you want more places that can take in more product to share with other people. And competition pushes you to be better, quite frankly.
And competition can be a boon in the right hands. And we're not true competitors in the sense of the word, because his base is a little bit different than ours.
Can you elaborate on that? How they're different?
He typically deals with more of the collector's market, whereas we deal with a lot of the general crowds. Not to say we each don't get those people.
But you're a little bit more specialized.
Yes.
A little bit.
Well, and I would say it's kind of who you cater to as well. I mean, my theory, my stance when I opened my store was I want to make the game store I always wanted to go to, but never found. And that was pre-Jason GB Games. That was old owners GB Games. And so you kind of look around and you wanted something that you never had and you fill that gap, And so I was looking for this place that would have the sort of stuff that, you would go around looking for. And we certainly do cater to everybody as well. We're totally a family-owned shop where, moms and dads can come in and grandpas can come in and shop for the little ones too. But then we also have the high end. Like, we'll put a collectible at the same price it is on eBay. We try not to go over, obviously, because I'm an eBay guy. So I feel like if you could buy something on eBay for the same price you can find it in the store, why would you buy it in the store? Even though a lot of people are very loyal and would support you locally. So I kind of like the idea of putting it right at that high-end price, and you get people who are more than happy to pay that as long as they're getting good service to go along with it, which I like to think we offer. That's what most people tell me. I mean, no, it sounds so conceited to say we're the best or anything, but, we have very good reviews, so.
Now, if you guys watching this video or listening to this podcast episode, if you're listening to the audio version, haven't picked it up yet, we're talking about game stores today. Figured I should say that. One thing that I really like about your store in particular, I've been to game stores in many different locations. I've been to some of the best game stores in the Chicago area, in Indiana, in Florida, in Green Bay. I've been to some in Milwaukee. I've been to a lot of different game stores, and I'm just going to be honest here, and I hope no other game store owners or anything feel bad about this. I think yours has the nicest presentation I've ever seen.
Well, thank you.
Okay, your displays and whatnot are very nice, and there's just so much going on and very colorful. I like that.
Well, thank you. I wish I could trash them essentially, but really, GameStop. I worked there for 11 years. In a managerial position. So a lot of marketing. I even helped, like when they were coming up with new store concepts, I was helping with designs and that sort of thing. So I was lucky enough to have that background. So when I went into my store, I had all that sort of marketing background to go along with it. So as much as I'd love to bash them, I owe a lot of my success to the knowledge I learned while I was there. So.
No.
And they do admit, as much as I'm not a fan personally of the stores anymore, they have great looking stores. They do that very well. They pay lots of people lots of money to make their stores look very good.
I mean, when you're throwing around that much money, it's kind of hard not to make something nice looking.
Exactly.
Now, Jason, you also worked at GameStop. I do know that. How long did you work there?
I worked there 7 years, and Greg here actually hired me twice, once for a holiday and then once part-time, which eventually became my 7-year run.
So you guys have known each other for quite a while.
Yeah.
13 or 14 years now.
Something, yeah. I stopped counting a while back.
Yeah,
it feels like 20.
Yeah.
But, no, I'm just kidding.
Oh, it does.
But it feels like forever, absolutely.
So you both worked at GameStop, and you both worked there at the same time.
Yes.
Yep.
And now you're still in the industry, but working for smaller businesses. How does that work? Did you learn things from GameStop that maybe you might not have picked up just jumping into it right away? Is there important lessons there from GameStop? Are there mistakes you learned from?
There's plenty of mistakes that you can learn from working anywhere, really. Working at GameStop helped me envision what I wanted to do and what I needed to do, and certain things that I could fix to make it better.
Yeah, the most important thing to any success is a strong foundation. So GameStop gave me that foundation. Knowing what I knew, and I'll tell you, I've been open 5.5 years now, and when I first opened, you think you know everything, and you practically know nothing. And so when you really start digging into it, there's so much about being a small business, whether it comes down to taxes and accounting and all these other things that were automated for you at a big corporate level when you're just a manager. And then when you pull back to the owner level and you're like, wow. And then in my case anyway, I was the only one. The buck stopped with me. I had no employees in the beginning, so it was legitimately just one guy trying to figure this out on his own. But you get there, and a lot of people think that working for yourself is really great, and it is, but they kind of do it for the wrong reasons. I think they think that you don't have a boss and it's really great, and but I've been harder on myself than any boss ever would be. You have to be.
Right.
That's how you kind of drive that success.
All right, so I got to get some of the fun questions out of the way for both of you.
Okay.
Because it seems like a lot of people go, oh, game stores are so cool. I want to work at a game store. And then they really don't know what it takes to do that. So first question, do you get to play video games all day?
Oh,
No. Recreationally speaking, I have not played a game at the store in probably since December. Like just recreationally speaking, not counting testing a game for this or that, or fixing an NES for somebody or something. So
I think mine's been even longer than that.
Well, I specifically remember because in December is when I brought my other guy on full time, up from 30 to 40 hours. So when I did that, we started working together the first time we ever had double coverage at the store. And it was like a Saturday in the month of December last year. And I remember having both of us there, and we were standing around half the day because we were both in turbo mode going so fast that we finished everything we wanted to do. So then we just pulled up, put Kingsfield 2 in the PlayStation 3, and just jammed on some classic PS1.
So what you're saying is people who work in game stores don't have this amazing life of just sitting there playing video games all day.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, when I do open the door, I mean, the heavens do sing. There's like a choir and the angels are. I mean, that's all. That's real. That's all there. But yeah, no, absolutely. And I love what I do, and I'll never ever, scoff at somebody who says they wishes they had my job or they wish they could do what I do. But you're correct, where a lot of people assume that it's that you're playing games all day, and it's absolutely work. That's why you get paid to do it. You'd always rather be doing something else than working. But yeah.
And even at home, I found that your game playing does go down some. You get home after working all day, you talk about them all day. It's one of the last things on your mind. You want to spend time with family, friends.
I actually can relate to that because a big part of my job is sitting here talking about video games all day. We play video games for our channel. We do all this. And at the end of the day, when I go home, I don't know, I just want to sit down and watch Netflix or something. I kind of want to stay away from games and get a break.
Sure. Yeah, you can definitely, do too much when it comes to that. You can absolutely oversaturate. And then you start to feel, I don't know, like it's a chore. And then once it becomes a chore, playing games casually, that's when you want to step out and do something else. So that's when you want to start, watching Netflix to unwind or doing something that doesn't require what you were literally talking about all day.
So I think you guys together have just completely sold our entire viewer base on never working in a game store. Because you just said it's all work, it's no play, and it makes you never want to play video games again. And what are some fun things?
Well, if you ask my guy, Dave, who works for me, my full-time employee, he would never go back anywhere. He loves it. It's perfect for him. And so yeah, we paint a pretty grim picture there at the beginning, but it's absolutely great. I mean, when you are working and you're doing work, your work is literally talking to people about games all day. We literally sell fun for a living. And so it's so great when you get to share that excitement that you have over something with somebody else. And it's so easy to sell something to somebody when you love it and when you embrace it.
Right. Like he said, it's not all fun in games, but when you're talking about your passion and what you like to do all day, it doesn't feel like a job, even though there's a lot more to do than just play games.
That's actually how you and I became friends. You were working in the store and it was a slow day. And I came in and I'm like, hey, let's talk about RPGs for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we became friends. So you do feel like the conversations and whatnot are worth it.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, you meet so many interesting people, and you meet so many people that are like-minded because clearly it's something that we love too. So it's just great. Absolutely. People really make it.
Me and Greg share a love for Armored Core.
Yeah. And you just meet so many people that are not just like-minded, I guess, but they're as passionate as you are. And I don't know, it's so much fun talking to somebody about something you love. It's different when you work at, say, like a repair shop, and everyone who comes into your shop is essentially frustrated and irritated already, and they talk to you about having to pay money for something they didn't want to spend money on, as to where someone comes in and they're happy to give you their money. And that's really that's a great feeling, being in sales, but having someone love. People say thank you to me, and I'm like, no, thank you. I mean, I don't exist if it isn't for your generosity, but they're so happy to get what they get. It's great.
I think one of the more recent articles I read is that we sell experiences.
Sure, I would agree with that. And that's actually some old GameStop slang, where you create an experience, you don't have a transaction, you have an experience. And those are buzzwords in the in the corporate industry. And that's fine, but it's true to an extent. All those buzzwords come from a reality, and the reality is you're trying to shape something other than a transaction. And absolutely, we play video game music in the store. We, the logos on the windows, everything is meant to create, like, I want someone to walk in the first time and just be like, this was fun to come here. And that's just what I love about it. Between the conversation and the ambiance and the environment that you're in.
All right. I've got another really good question for you guys. I know you both at least do some video game collecting, right? I think you'd agree with that.
Absolutely.
I think you'd both agree that you're pretty big into the video game collecting scene.
I would agree with that as well.
Yep.
True statement.
I'm there too, so does working in a game store help you with your own collection?
Yes.
Are there some benefits?
Yes.
There are. I don't know how Gregg's works for being the owner or whatnot, if he just gives himself a discount on them or if he's just able to grab it if he wants it. But I know where I work, I typically have to wait if I want it on some form of discount. But definitely working in a game store helps me find what I've been looking for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my collection, unfortunately, when I opened the business, I had to sell my entire collection to launch the store. With the few exception of my Metal Gear games, I'll never give up my Metal Gear stuff.
Woo! Metal Gear.
And I think I sold my XCOM, actually. I did. I had to. I sold the shirt off my back in the beginning to get it open, So I sold my entire collection. It was just completely decimated. I had nothing left. And then I slowly started to rebuild, and now I was checking the app on my phone the other day. I think I'm almost 700 plus. I'm almost over 700 now. So back up to that, which I think is technically more than I had when I opened the store, but I have to look. So yeah, it helps a lot too, because sometimes you discover things you'd kind of forgotten about, and sometimes you find something that you didn't know existed. And my collecting's kind of eclectic because I technically own everything in my store, so I don't just want my house to be one of everything that I already have at the store, because it seems kind of silly. So I chose a certain type of collection, rolled with that, but every now and then you'll see a game come into the store that you've never played or never seen, and you play it and it grabs you. Like, oh well, this one's coming home too, even though I never had it before. Now I do.
All right, so you definitely see some bonuses then.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's good for the collection, bad for the wallet,
All right. We just went through some more positives. I like to switch positive, negative, positive, negative.
The old compliment sandwich. I'm a fan.
Yep, absolutely. Are you ready for this? I want to ask about people who try and scam you guys, because you're dealing with buying and selling all the time, and I've heard plenty of horror stories of people trying to cheat the system. Do you guys have any stories about that?
I actually just shut 2 people down recently before they sold us stuff that was potentially stolen. Guy came in with 1 Blu-ray, good condition, didn't think anything of it. He's like, I got some more at home. He lives on North Irwin. I'm working on the east side. He gets back less than 20 minutes later with a stack of like 6 Blu-rays, and all of them still have the security tape on the top of them, literally like they were just opened. Mm-hmm. Without his receipt, I didn't take them, and I did add them to the receipts required. I had another girl who sold us a copy of Rainbow Six Siege for the PS4 to our east side, but came to our west side with another copy of it. Now, I wasn't flagged because, it's a newer game. People are a little bit getting done with it. But what was suspicious is it had that oily feel. It was flawless condition. So I took a look at her history, and it showed that she had sold one that same day. I put her on the do not buy list almost instantly because clearly she's been taking these items from somewhere. Mm-hmm. I do what I can to curb it by knowing what to look for. And then I've been in close contact with people who run Noopers, which is the reporting software. I'm not sure. I assume you use Noopers as well. Mm-hmm. And I've had the close contact with them, letting them know, hey, we're seeing this, check on this person.
Let's see.
Yeah, going to Jason's point, I mean, all you can really do is have the policies in place to try to stop it, but then you also have to have a conscience and tell yourself that you're, and be an honest business. So when you do that and you look out for it. I don't really have any specific examples. I don't think really. I mean, yeah, people come in with suspicious trades all the time, and you have a program where you will look through and you'll try to find things that might be stolen. When we worked at GameStop, there was kind of a mentality where you looked for a reason to take something. So if something was kind of beat up or trashy, you were like, well, it technically works though, so let's take it. Because you're trying to boost your numbers for the store. It's actually quite sad. But at my store, we kind of cranked that around and said, look for a reason not to take it. And while we don't want to alienate anybody, we don't want to close anyone out and make anyone feel insulted, you're looking for a reason not to take that game. Like we're searching for the reason that would cause us loss, or even if you think it's suspicious, Jason alluded to it, but we basically just say you have to have your original purchase receipt to show us that you purchased it. And if you can't provide that, we're really sorry. But that's just what we have to do. And it's unfortunate because I'm sure there's some honest people that do get burned by that occasionally. But, for the most part, you're deterring the person who's stealing it. And if all the stores do that, then that type of theft goes down anyway because there's nowhere to get rid of it. So,
how about counterfeits? Have either of you had experiences with, fake games or stuff like that? I know of one occasion that Jason told me about with, was it a copy of Pokemon Fire Red?
Yeah.
Does that kind of stuff happen all the time, or is it a rarity?
It's pretty regular, and the Pokemons especially are sold widely on eBay and Amazon, so an average customer will come in and not know it was a bootleg. And so you have to, that's a really fine line you have to walk because you don't want to, assume that they did it, and you don't want to insult them by accusing them. But you also have to be honest and upfront with them and say you can't take it. We've had a couple. I had one bootleg game come through one time, and I'm very good at looking at labels. Personally, I have like this really weird photographic memory with game boxes and labels. Like I can look at a label and just know that there's something off about it. And I had a Shining Force 2 for Game Boy Advance come through, or Shining Soul 2, and it looked perfect. And popped it open. It was like later someone brought it back saying it was a bootleg. I'm like, I'm not buying that it's a bootleg. If you don't want it, that's cool. And I opened it up, and that sure enough, it was a bootleg. And I could not believe it. The only time I've ever been technically tricked by it. And the person who sold it to me comes in all the time. We talked about it, and he had no idea it was a bootleg. He just bought it on eBay, and
The easiest way to tell is that battery.
No.
So unfortunately, it becomes, unless you're opening them up, it's really hard
Take
to
every
tell.
game, and someone brings in 30 games. Yeah, let's open them all.
Right.
Do you mind waiting all day for your trades? Cool.
But that's typically why you got to do, like, we look at it as, hey, what are the rare ones in your Pokemon,
Right.
things like that. We look for the batteries there.
And 99% of the time, you can spot a fake completely from the shell and from the sticker.
Yep.
So, usually it's just not something you're.
And
gonna get caught up
unfortunately,
on.
we're getting to a point where some games you won't be able to check. DS piracy is getting to be a real big problem with counterfeits, and you can't open those up really.
Right.
I mean, unless you want to re-glue them together.
Yeah, and you look for, a lot of times the cases are, thankfully, like most crooks are lazy, and I guess that's why they've chosen this life of crime. So, so most crooks that are lazy will print poor box art or something like that. Or when they're putting the labels on these bootlegs, the label will be crooked. Or a lot of the times you see in DS cards, especially, you'll see it flexing a little bit, like it's too big for the actual shell. So yeah. But you're right. It's absolutely a problem. The good thing is once the popularity of those systems dies down, so does the bootlegging, I guess. So it's just this hot window right now of Pokemon, and then Pokemon games will always be popular, but in 20 years, no one will be bootlegging Pokemon DS games. So hopefully, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't say that. Who knows?
We'll see.
Have me back on in 20 years. We'll see.
We'll see.
We put it down on paper. So
We'll both be ancient, but we'll do it.
All right, I've got another really fun question, and this is actually one of the things I've asked Jason multiple times, and occasionally the answer changes because it can change. What do you feel, for each of you, is the rarest thing that has ever come into your store? That one item that you'd say, oh my God, everyone has to take a look at this. It is so cool.
There's been a few of them. We had the box copy of Earthbound as one of them. How often do you see a box copy of that game nowadays?
Oh, every day, every garage sale, how it is.
Yeah. We've seen little things like Saturn Bomberman, another big one. Bomberman 2 on the Nintendo. We just got a copy of Metal Storm. DuckTales 2 was probably the more recent one, the memory. DuckTales 2 in box. Like, I couldn't believe it would just walk through my door.
That's great. No, those are awesome. Same thing. Sadly, the rarest thing to ever walk through my door, I was not able to purchase. Although I really wanted to. He wasn't looking to sell. I think he was more just looking for a little bit of, to like get it priced out and to see what it was worth.
And maybe a little attention.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. And we definitely gave it to him, But we had been talking about it earlier, and basically it was a complete in-box copy of Little Samson for the NES. So, and I held it in my hands. It is real. The box was like a 7 out of 10. I would have given it, no crushing or anything, just normal wear and tear. The booklet, unfortunately, was falling apart, but it was complete. And and it was all there. Label was just great. The cart was 100% mint. So I valued it at about $3,000. Yeah. So I offered him $2,500 for it, and unfortunately, he had to talk it over with his brother because they had to split whatever it was. And he asked me my honest opinion, And when people ask me my honest opinion, I have to give it. And so I said, "Here's my honest opinion. Go to Walmart, buy a black plastic tote, put this in it, seal it up, and forget about it for 10 years, and then see what it's worth in 10 years." Because that's what I would do. If I was able to get that, I may not even put it on the shelf.
Or your safe deposit box.
Yeah, or exactly. And he's like, and I talked to him later. Actually, it's in a fireproof safe in his house, so good on him. So that was the rarest thing. As far as things we've had to sell, currently we've got a full complete copy of Rule of Rose. I've got a mint in box copy of Web of Fire for 32X. That's just a beaut. We have that KO Flying Squadron still we're looking to get rid of. We've had copies of Snatcher come through.
You saw a copy of Hagani recently, too.
Yeah, we had, that reminds me, we have a complete in-box Wild Guns for Super Nintendo. So we've got just some killer stuff. Yeah, we had a Hagane come through. Final Fight Guys currently in the store. So, yeah, we've had some just amazing stuff. And that's half the fun, I think, too, is seeing it come through. Even though you're going to sell it and it'll be gone one day. But the transition of buying it from someone and getting it in the hands of another collector, that's just really cool to me, too.
Is it sometimes hard to resist the temptation of keeping that stuff for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes you want to take stuff home just because it's rare, even though it's kind of a pile. So personally, I'm not a fan of the dot hack games. And we had all 7 traded in recently, and they were all in mint condition. Everything was there complete. And I'm like, I'm taking these. That's it. I'm taking them home. I let them go last time they come through. And then I was staring at the stack, and I was like, I don't want these. I don't even like this game. So then I had to put them back. But you definitely have those moments of weakness where you just want to take it home because it's rare.
I think Jason's a little bit frustrated over there that you passed on them. He wants them, don't you?
There's a few games I want. But yeah, the biggest one recently was Ogre Battle 64 came through my store.
Awesome.
I don't get the rare stuff Gregg gets at all. I wish I did in some cases. I'd love to see some of that come through, but again, it's the different markets that we're in.
All right, I have one more set of questions, and then we're actually going to move on to some questions from some of our fans.
Oh, excellent. All right.
I've got 2 questions here. One, what's one thing that each of you, in short, love about working in a game store, and what's one thing you hate?
Do you want to go first? Or?
Sure. Okay, let's start with the one thing I love. What I love is matchmaking collectors with their loves, So like, I love watching somebody come in. We take names and numbers down. We do call lists. Someone will come in and say, hey, if you ever get that mint in box Earthbound, give me a call. And you go, okay, well, 3 years later, I'll call and be like, no, you got it? Like, I got it, my man. You ready for it? And so that's probably my favorite thing that I love the most is like watching people come in and kind of the look in their eye when they come in. Like people will come in and say the Legend of Zelda theme is playing. So someone will come in and their ears will perk up. Like it's really amazing to watch. Their ears will perk up and they get this weird smile on their face. And I swear if you could see into their mind, you would see them traveling back in time to when they were playing that game. They'd remember the carpet they were sitting on. They'd remember the TV size they were looking at. And it's almost like watching them go back in time when they hear the music and see the stuff in there. And I love that. I love hearing people do that. That's probably my favorite part. Because again, then it's the discussions and the talks with people. And the thing I hate the most, and this, again, I don't like to say many negative things because I'm very blessed to have the opportunity I have to do. I mean, I worked very hard for it, but I'm very lucky to have been successful, is just making the product presentable. The condition that it comes in is not very often the condition we sell it in. So we do a lot of cleaning. We have the toothbrush is the mightiest cleaning tool ever invented, and we clean a lot. And so you scrub off some very awful stuff sometimes off of these games and consoles. People that have smoked like a chimney for 20 years in front of a Super Nintendo, people that have pets. I'll just leave it at that. And stuff like that. So yeah, that's the thing I hate the most is the quality of product that comes in that sometimes we have to clean.
That is a shared experience between game stores and game collectors, because yeah. I swear I spend more time cleaning video games than I spend playing video games.
That is so true.
Jason, what about you? One thing you love, one thing you hate?
I love being able to turn my passion into a reality every day that I work, even when I'm not working. I'm sure Gregg gets it all the time, but like people are like, oh, you work at GB Games, don't you? And I'll just be randomly out like, okay, yeah, I do. This is awesome, but I'm out with family. But being recognized as that person you can talk to about that sort of thing is awesome. And I kind of have to agree with Gregg. The inanimate amount of time that goes into cleaning stuff is just insane.
And you've seen some stores, like certain stores that should not be named and pawn stores and such like that, they don't clean at all. They put it out in the exact condition it comes in. And so sometimes you'll see these accessories bagged up and you could open that bag and smell just
the weed
awfulness.
Cigarettes.
There's one local business I shall not name because I got respect. They don't clean anything, and there are things I've seen in there that have grossed me out so much that I've just left.
Yep. And really, like, getting out of video games in general, like, retail and sales is all about making people comfortable. When you're comfortable, you want to buy more, right? When you feel good, you feel confident in buying stuff. Like, that's just basics, So if you have a store like that, like, when someone comes in, and yeah, like, the average, like the diehard collector is going to come in and see, like, a crunchy old top loader NES, and he's like, I can clean that up, no big deal. But the mom who came in, whose son asked her to go get a top loader, she's going to look at that and go, that's gross. And then when she leaves, she's going to say, I don't want to go there because their stuff's gross. And that's just how it's going to be. And yeah, so you've got a certain, responsibility if you want to be successful, in my opinion, to keep that stuff in just good condition. And so many places don't. They just kind of throw it in a glass case and that's it.
All right. Now I'm going to move on to some questions not from me. All right. And before I get into the questions from some of our fans that actually I mentioned I was doing this episode. They're like, hey, ask them this. I do have a question from some of our other members of Gaming Buzz. So the first one comes from Darian, who's actually producing this episode. Thanks for that, Darian.
Thank you, Darian. We love you.
He wanted to ask, what do you guys feel the retro or the used or whatever word you want to use game industry will be like 10 years from now?
I think that we're gonna have a taper off in cost even in the next like year and a half. Like, I mean, we're already starting to see some of them come down a little. Some of them are still going up, but I think in 10 years, we'll have another one of those growth/tapers.
In 10 years, I think the retro market will be, in one word, anarchy. I personally, no offense to you, Jason, I think it's not slowing down anytime soon. Every year there's always ups and downs. So right now, as you get further from Christmas, that's always the lowest of the year. So your June, July, August, you see all the prices really kind of dip a little bit. So your Legend of Zelda, for instance, will go down from $25 during Christmas to like $17.99. That's just kind of the price flux from, say, December to June. And then, but this year, come December, we'll see Zelda hit probably 30. So from last year's 25 up to 30. So you're seeing these ups and downs, but it's still a gentle rise. And Jason's right in one regard, where basically eventually these games get out of the price of the average consumer. So once the price gets way too high for the average consumer, then there's less people in the market buying, and then that's going to drive the cost back down to a manageable level. So there's definitely, and that's where you see those kind of ups and downs. But then what you have to remember is, because right now, I mean, clearly the hottest stuff that's retro is Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and 64. So let's go forward 10 more years. PlayStation 2 games that are rare are going to be even more rare 10 years from now. So yeah, right now you don't hear a lot of PS2 collecting. Like, it's out there, but it's not, people aren't like running other people over at game stores to get PS2 games, but they will. And even though they're overproduced compared to some of those older titles, you definitely will see it. But there's always going to be that average game that's cheap, and that's going to continue on forever. But man, the retro market, personally, where I think it's going is once everyone gets the games they want, because I think that's a realistic possibility. In the next couple of years, a lot of us that have been hunting games for years, we're eventually going to hit that point where we say, well, we've got all the games we want. So are we done collecting? Of course not. We find something else to obsess over, right? So the other thing I think we're going to start seeing is you're going to see non-merchandise related stuff going up. So you're going to see like boxes. So people are going to start wanting boxes for all their games, or they're going to want promotional materials or anything with the old Nintendo seal of approval on it and stuff like that. And it's going to be really interesting. But I think in 10 years, it's just going to be, everything's going to be just worse than it is now. So if you ever heard the old adage, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is right now, I apply that totally and wholly to video game collecting. The best time to buy every one of these Nintendo games you wanted was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now.
Interesting thought right there. I kind of see where you're kind of saying different things, but the same thing at the same time. It's really interesting. Do you guys think you'll both be in the game industry still 10 years from now?
I hope so.
Yeah, I think so. It was never my intent to open a store and then work it like an hourly employee for the rest of my life. So whether that's opening multiple stores and managing, or if it's just managing one store while you have employees take care of the business, or if it's transitioning to something else in the gaming field, that's always where I'll be. That'll be my passion till I always make the joke that like when I'm 85 or 90 or however long we get to live when we're that old, they're gonna find me just in some VR chamber in my recliner with my VR headset on, and that's where I'll croak. So that's where they're gonna find me.
All right. Let's move on to our fan-submitted questions. We have 3 of them today. All right?
Okay, excellent.
Question number 1 is from Abel. How much does the quality of a game impact the game's price? And do you guys price bad games less than maybe what they should be, or how do you guys feel about that?
Well, I would say something's worth whatever someone's willing to pay for it. That's just that's the truest form. But realistically, we use trends on eBay to look at what stuff's worth. If a game's bad, quality does not oftentimes represent rarity. There's some really horrible games that are worth money, and then there's some really good games that are super common. So I think it more has to do with the quantity of print that the game received. And also, I think that lately social media and YouTube especially has been playing a lot into that. There's a lot of YouTubers that make a lot of these great, this game sucks because videos. And so when those videos come out, a lot of the fans are like, I got to play this. Like, I'm swear I'm not name dropping here, but I'm really good friends with Jared, Pro Jared. And so when he does a video on, say, Hide Glide, that game, all of a sudden, everybody has to have Hide Glide.
Which is funny because, sorry for interrupting.
Yep.
He did in that video mention you guys.
He did. So in the super highlight video that he did, I sent him that copy of the game. Because of his highlight video, he was picking up steam with that. So I sent him super highlight for Genesis as a joke, like as a poke in the ribs. And he's like, dude, I'll make a video out of that. And I'm like, all right, excellent. And he did. And it was great. And so he gave me a shout out for that, which was just awesome. But yeah, so when he was at KitsuneCon recently, I had at least 2 or 3 copies of Hide Glide just sold out because I wanted to buy it, take it to him to have him autograph it. You know, Hide Glide itself isn't necessarily a bad game. It's just not good either. It's just kind of, it exists.
Hey, it's commonly considered one of the first games, if not the first. It's kind of debated, but to have regenerative health.
Yeah, okay. Look at that.
Hey, it's innovative.
Great ideas. That innovative combat where you just mash into the enemy until he dies, gauntlet style,
It's like a bumper car RPG.
Bumper car simulator. Medieval bumper car simulator. Yeah, I dig it.
Jason, do you have any thoughts on that? Quality of game impacting price?
The overall quality, like physical quality, yes. Like actual quality of gameplay, not really. It's a really subjective thing because I've liked some really terrible games.
True.
It doesn't mean those games should be cheap to get a hold of, because some of them do have a lot of merits and should, like he said, gather what people are willing to pay for them.
All right. So basically, quality of game really doesn't matter that much.
No,
quality of gameplay.
Yeah, Jason made a good point there, because absolutely the quality of the game physically matters a ton. But yeah, gameplay-wise, nope. And some things are really weird. And like Jason said, it's very subjective. I'm fully aware of some of the games I enjoy are just not good. But I have a special place, they have a special place in my heart for whatever reason. So
I feel the same way too, believe me. Next question. This one is from Megan. And she asked, do you guys have any tips for someone who wants to start their own game store?
Is this the Megan I know?
Yes, it is. This is actually kind of cheating. This is my girlfriend.
Oh, so, hey, all right. Hey.
All right.
Well, my
full
first
disclosure.
Don't open it next to mine. No, I'm just kidding. I refer to my other comment a little earlier. I would say being your own boss is awesome and incredibly difficult. All at the same time, you have to have a great personal drive, because no one else drives you except yourself. And if you start resting on your laurels and you don't push hard, then there's no one behind you to push you to make you better. So, but as far as any other advice, start collecting. And if you have I was borderline hoarding, I think, when I opened my store. I was just buying anything I get my hands on. I had like 10 Genesis systems, and my roommates were like, what are you doing, dude? They were in the kitchen too. I had boxes stacked in the kitchen. My buddy was like, man, you gotta move this stuff, dude. You can't just have like game stuff in the kitchen. I was like, whatever, okay. I'm gonna open a game store one day. But I did. So I would say, but then I would also say you really just have to educate yourself on the trends and on what it really takes, not just to run a game store, but to run a business. Because things like taxes and payroll and all that stuff can really catch you off guard. And if you're not up to things like your sales tax, receiving, and all that sort of stuff, you can get blindsided by it, and it can cripple you. Especially the first couple of years you're open. I mean, taxes and stuff like that are the first thing that will put you down if you're not expecting it, if you don't brace for it.
I don't know necessarily about the back end like Gregg does with the taxes and payroll, though I do understand that is a huge thing. A big thing, be prepared to put in an animate amount of time into your business. I think you were doing 12, 16-hour days?
Yeah, in the beginning when I was the only employee, it was 6 days a week, 12-hour days, yeah.
Right, and
for 2 years, yeah.
I've gone through periods where 3-4 months I was putting in 12 hours a day, 2 days a week, and I didn't have a day off.
Yep.
So just be prepared to put in that inanimate amount of time into your job.
And it's all mental too. I mean, You just have to prepare for that. And like I knew when I opened it, I would go for at least a year or two without having more than one day off a week for 2 years. And and I chose to front load the work, and then hired my first employee, became open 7 days a week, and then gave myself off a second day a week. So I went down from 65 hours down to only 55 hours a week. So it was glorious.
Would you guys recommend starting at, say, GameStop?
I think starting at GameStop gives you an idea of what to do and what not to do.
That's a smart answer.
I like that answer.
Using even Zildjian, a famous cymbal company. They do cymbals for drum sets and everything. It's a family-owned business. It's been family-owned since they opened. If a family member wants to work for Zildjian, they have to go work for a competitor for a year before they can go work at Zildjian.
Interesting.
To understand the difference in, like, not only policies, but the way the business is run.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. You didn't know that.
That is an interesting story. Thank you.
Because it gives you an idea behind a corporate structure as opposed to a mom and pop or a family run.
Yeah, and it gives you a good baseline. I mean, you need to understand the business, and GameStop will get you that understanding. Just little things like, and really even at a part-time level, I don't even know if I could say that would work. You might have to get to just the management level, so you can start seeing the numbers. Or if you're a part-time, just talk to your boss about showing you the numbers. But you learn things about what percent of your trade buybacks compared to your sales have to match up with what what percent profit margin you make on those. Because the whole point of what you do, the formula, is at its basics is you need to be taking in as much trade as you're selling, but making money on the stuff you're selling so that you keep a level inventory, but you're still putting some money away in the bank. That's really the formula without getting into specific numbers and boring and putting everyone to sleep if they're not asleep already. But, so there's some insider stuff like that you just have to understand, because you can't go into it and go, okay, well, man, rent's like $2,000 a month. So let's see, if I do $100 a day, that's $3,000 a month, and I'm good. Like, well, is that $100 profit a day, or is that $100 sales? Like, you really got to think it through. And so those are all, that's a big part of it. Yeah.
All right. So our last fan question comes from Gavin. Are you ready for this? What's the worst part about GameStop?
Anything corporate is terrible.
Go ahead, Jason. We had very different experiences there. So.
I worked there 7 years. Past 2.5 years working there, I got passed up for management 8 times. Not from lack of trying. Every time it came up, I would either talk to Gregg, who was an area manager who managed 3 stores at the time, or I would try to talk to our district manager. But I always getting passed up. Nobody ever gave me an explanation other than I figured it out later that some people either didn't like me or they just didn't feel like signing off. So for me, it was very rough because I would have made them a career if they would have let me. Even though, yes, on the high end, corporate structures, you get crapped on quite a bit regardless where you're at. It was very hard for me to stay there when other opportunities came up.
Gregg?
Well, it's tough because I don't like to speak ill. But I would say they're a large corporation. You start to feel like numbers. When I worked there, this has actually changed quite a bit, is my understanding as I talk to my friends that still work there. It was very competitive as far as store versus store. So you might think that's really crazy. But what they do is they number rank everything. So you would get a report at the end of the night with like 10 different things. All those things were ranked against every other store in the entire company. Now, I'm very proud to say I'm a very competitive person. So actually, I say bring that on. It drove me to work harder, but it stressed me out more. So I had no problem with that, actually, but that's what they do. And so then what you do is you start pushing your employees to unattainable levels. And then you've got people working part-time that you're expecting to care about the store as much as you do when you work there full-time. And it kind of breeds a culture of, what have you done for me lately? And so that's really disappointing because, I remember, for instance, and this is more of my manager at the time's problem, not the company, but, we had been consistently ranking in the top 1% of the company. So we were the top 50 of the company out of 5,000 stores consistently, year after year. And that's just where we were. That's how I ran my store. That's how I want it to be. And I remember one time I started slipping and I was in like the hundreds. And I was already mad because being a competitive person, I don't like to lose. And I remember my boss coming to me and saying, he on the conference call in front of everybody else saying, that's really disappointing. You need to be better. You can't be in the hundreds. You're normally in the top 50. And then we had a store that was in the 4,000s and he doesn't say anything to them. And he just kind of was like, well, he's always in the 4,000s. What are you going to do? And I just remember thinking to myself, nothing's ever going to be good enough. And I worked very, very hard there to make somebody a little bit extra money. So that was ultimately was my decision to leave was, I can work just as hard for myself. And if I'm going to put this time in, I want to reap the benefits of that. So, and I did. And that's really it. And otherwise, I think just, a lot of people, obviously there's a lot of GameStop hate on the internet. I mean, there's no shortage of it. And I love the memes and I love it all. But I will say as a company, it was actually pretty nice to work for in the sense that they're very stable. They take care of their employees that are full-time as far as benefits and pay and things like that. You get annual raises, like that sort of stuff. It's all good. And they don't make stupid decisions with their money. They're successful. They're safe. They bought Funko Land. They bought EB Games. They put themselves in a position to succeed, which is really great. They bought ThinkGeek. Like they're doing like Cricket Wireless and stuff like they're a smart company. So it's a safe place to work if you're a hard worker, and it's very secure, which is very nice. But
working as part-time, though, during summer months, you only get like 4 hours a week if you're lucky.
Oh, yeah. Well,
at some point, working part-time, my paycheck was $5.
Payroll's a hot mess. They basically just tell your store how many hours you can use every week, and then 90% of that is used up by your full-time employees, and then you've got 10 hours to give to 3 employees. Yeah, it's horrific, but not to mention it's poor customer service because you can't help the people because you're so busy and you don't have enough people helping.
And you can't necessarily train your part-timers to be where you want them to be.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds like it kind of sucks.
But what I always say about it, and this is the truth, and I don't speak ill of them often because I do wish everyone working there the best too, and a lot of people work there, and you never want to see a company like that go out of business who employs so many people. But what I said was it was a great place to work while I figured out what I wanted to do with my life. So if I wanted to be a lifer at GameStop, I could have been. Just could have kept plugging away until they finally gave me the promotion to district manager that I was trying for years. Or it was a flexible enough schedule where I was able to go back to school. And then it was, and then I decided, this isn't for me, but I can do this. And so it was a great launch pad to what I wanted to do. So I'm not real big on regrets. When you're happy with where you are in your life, it's hard to regret anything that could change and to your current happiness, So yeah, but that's definitely, it was a good place to work while you figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life.
I do agree with that sentiment. Like, even though I was part-time, I did thoroughly enjoy it because it also gave me an opportunity to pick up another part-time job to see if and when I liked that type of job as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so it's a good starting place.
Yes.
I thought absolutely, and it's fun. I mean, at the part-time level, while you have issues with hours and stuff, you get to talk about games. You get to the very controversial checkout policy that a lot of people have problems with.
The store level was always fantastic, though. That's the one thing I can say. Like, my stores, whether I was working for Gregg or my old manager Andy, was just absolutely fantastic.
All right, wow. You made me actually appreciate GameStop a little bit. Good job.
Hey, they've got plenty of viable reasons to hate them. So let's focus on those, like anything, there's plenty to criticize them over. Let's pick the good ones that are important, and working there is not bad at all. It's fun.
All right. So thank you, Gregg, for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. This was great. You can invite me back anytime, man. This is awesome.
All right. And as always, thanks for sharing your expertise, Jason.
No problem.
If you guys have any questions for these guys, let us know in the comments. Hit us up on social media. I'd strongly recommend joining the Gaming Buzz community on Facebook. That's where we talked about this and picked some of these questions. So that's definitely something I would do if I were you. It's a no-brainer, right, guys?
Yep, absolutely. And you can follow me on Twitter at GameTradeGreg. It's nice and easy to remember.
And before we go, I do have one last thing I'd like to do.
Excellent.
One final definitive question.
Uh-oh.
Do you have Battletoads?
I do actually complete in the box at the moment.
Actually, I think I have Battletoads for 1 or 2 systems as well.
All right. We did it. We did it. We broke the internet. All right. If you guys enjoyed this video, you should subscribe to Gaming Buzz on YouTube. You should like this video. You should tell us if you guys have Battletoads. And we will see you next time. Thank you. Goodbye. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Did you like that? Of course you did. You can get more at gamingbuzz.com. Let us know what else you want by connecting with us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube.